Yes. Hmm.
You've spoken about your scholarly work, and you also mentioned, of course, your awareness that you hope that this, writing these books and writing about these women will prompt some scholarly work of other people as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your side of that and how that has influenced you as a historical fiction author and a historical romance author?
Well, all of the my approach to writing historically came about from my recognition of what was going on with my teaching in the classroom as a literature professor, where I would have to provide the historical backdrop to any piece of literature that I happened to teach in order for the students to be able to connect with it. And it really, and not to say it was an arduous part of teaching. I mean, I enjoyed it because I enjoyed that talking about the history that my students might not have known about and all of that other kind of stuff. But I really, really felt that them not knowing it was the thing that was kind of a little alarming to me. And I was like, well, what if there was something that, and also knowing at the same time that reading has gone into decline, it's like to say, would it be great if I could somehow produce something that these students could read that could help them learn more about the history or desire to go find out more about history. And then, that would be all good. It would increase people's historical knowledge. It would increase their reading skills and maybe their pleasure with reading. And so then it's almost as if a lightning bolt struck me to say, oh, this is what I've been working up to all of those years for Halloween when I was being a Pilgrim and Betsy Ross and Laura Ingalls Wilder one year where I had my sunbonnet perched upon my afro. All of those things I've been working up to all of those years. This is what I was supposed to do. So yeah, it worked out in terms of me thinking about it in that way. And like I say, and hopefully I really kind of see by writing these books and talking about these figures or whatever as an extension of what goes on in my classroom, which some students would call at a point, they would call it historical tea. I was like, yeah, good. Yeah, call it historical tea. Yeah. So when it was like, so it would be posted, oh, Dr. Huguley's going to be teaching 19th century United States literature, and then accounting past students of mine are like, that's boring. I'm like, are you kidding me? So then I would have to drop them a juicy little tidbit. And they'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'll sign up for that. Yay.
I like it.
So you do what you have to do. But yeah, on both fronts, both with history and with reading, we're in a bit of a crisis right now. And I know from my lurking and other social media groups, where people want to whine about accuracy and all this other kind of stuff. Yeah, but we're in a crisis, I say, and these kind of works, these kind of adaptations of things or whatever, I call it gets butts and seats in historical classrooms and let them go there and find out about, say, for reasons like Chevalier, for instance. I don't know if it was released over there yet. In terms of Marie Antoinette Chevalier St. George, the Black man who was the composer at court, for whom Napoleon went and just erased him from the public record. So that even in a house with a trained opera singer, that's my father, growing up, that I only came to learn about Chevalier St. George within the past 5 years is criminal. The fact that there's a movie now, and probably will be books now, etc., it brings awareness, and that's what we need at this point, is more awareness.
So I have known you for a while, and one of the reasons is that we met through both writing historical romance, and of course, we've now both written historical romance and then sort of broader historical fiction, as you said, biographical historical fiction in your case. You mentioned a little bit earlier about romance giving you the chance to sort of have a bit of a training ground and a practice. What is it that you got out of writing those first books, those first series, and how has that helped with writing the books that you're writing now?
Well, just sort of providing that historical backdrop and a way of navigating or even thinking about some of the difficulties of writing a history that is might be uncomfortable for some people to face, to talk about. In terms of that, I think writing both series gave me that latitude to talk about particular limitations that Black characters could come across in terms of writing historical fiction. The biggest one I think people come across with, and when they read By Her Own Design with Anne Lowe, was when she goes to school. But it's when she goes to school in New York, I think, that blows everybody away, that the most terrible, horrible attempt at her limitation happens in New York City. People sort of, people were not looking for that necessarily for a character who was born in the Southern United States or whatever. But it's when she goes to New York for the first time that there's an attempt to prevent her from her study. And so, giving me that kind of practice, I think, in terms of talking about those things, but that are necessary things to talk about. I know that right now in this country, there's a movement afoot to try to prevent talking about these things. And as you're mentioning, because of writing about these particular incidents, I've been in the trenches for a while. I saw all of that coming years ago. In terms of that, when one of my books was challenged in terms of the whole historically accurate thing to have happened, that there could not possibly, say, have been a Black college graduate prior to our country's Civil War, but that's not true. That is a matter of historical record, that there were not gallons of them, but more than 50 of them. And so, you are able to write about those things in order to say, not in a sort of a manner that's confronting, but to say, this is the complete record. That, to me, that's what it's about. It's about restoration of a more complete record, like in terms of what I was just mentioning about Chevalier. In terms of that, I don't just know what would that have done for centuries of people who might have wanted to pursue studying the classical arts, particularly in terms of composing or violin playing or whatever, more in terms of seeing someone's prior example like that, had it not been so thoroughly scrubbed, if you will, from history. That's why it matters.
Thanks for watching this clip from the History Quill podcast, all about writing and publishing historical fiction. If you want to find out more about the topics discussed, check the description for a link to the full episode and the episode page on our website, where you can access a range of relevant resources. You can also join our email list to receive new podcast episodes and more content for historical fiction writers. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and switch on notifications.